We're in the midst of an economic collapse. By March 20, the markets had fallen over 33% from their highs. They've been recovering, but volatility remains high. At the same time, we've seen a huge amount of money be printed by the Fed and trillions of dollars in corporate bailouts. When a similar situation occurred in 2008, it led to a group of really passionate people to start to rally around this new idea called Bitcoin. Fast forward over a decade and we're facing another collapse, but this is the first collapse that we've seen since we've had Bitcoin. How will things turn out? I chatted to 3 crypto devs on the Future of Bitcoin livestream to discuss the economy, why decentralized tech is more important than ever, and the role of cryptocurrency in the current economic climate. Tobias Ruck, we have Pacia, Amaury Séchet. Welcome, guys. I wanted to start off by looking at all the economic turmoil that we're in the midst of right now. This could be right ground for more people discovering why traditional finance is bad, why people should be exploring crypto, why it's better to have control of your own money, especially in a time like this. Like, I'm terrified of having money in a bank account right now, just because we don't know what's gonna happen, right? How does crypto fit into all of this?
If we saw like a breakout of inflation, it'll be an interesting test for Bitcoin. I thought there was no way we were getting out of what the Fed did in 2008 without inflation, and somehow we did. The Fed is taking even more dramatic steps than it did in 2008. In this bailout package, you have like $4 trillion in loans that are apparently going to be forgiven, right? These are loans just conjured up out of thin air. Either the Fed manages to juggle that, or that money's just going to end up inflating prices. There are some things that's going on that makes you think that it's different this time. In 2008, the Fed embarked on a never been before done policy. It started printing huge amounts of money, buying a lot of financial assets, including bad mortgages and all this stuff. It buys these assets from the bank. The banks then are sitting on a mountain of cash. And if they loan this cash into circulation, you'd get hyperinflation. To stop that, the Fed started another policy of paying banks interest on their excess reserves. So the Fed was basically paying banks not to loan that money into circulation. Today, the Fed still hasn't unwound that policy, right? It tried unwinding it a little bit by selling off a few of those assets that it accumulated, starting just a couple years ago, but then it immediately had to stop, right? The economy started slowing down and the Fed was like, we're going to stop selling off those assets. It's still has a huge balance sheet. It's still sitting on a mountain of assets, and it's still paying banks not to loan out their excess reserves. And now it's like taking that same policy, but like jacking it up on steroids. It's buying everything under the sun that it can possibly buy. This isn't a sustainable policy. I mean, I could be wrong on this, but if you're sitting on a huge amount of cash, there's going to be like building pressure to like start making use of that, right? To like loan it out or whatever. And the only thing the Fed can do to respond to that mounting pressure to withdraw that money is to raise the interest rate it's paying them not to withdraw it. But that just increases the amount of money they're sitting on, right? The amount of cash just keeps growing and growing and growing. And the Fed just has to keep paying them more and more and more and more to like get them to stop loaning that money out. It's new territory. And I mean, who knows, maybe it could go on for 50 years like this before it collapses. And we're going to end up at the end of the day with the Fed owning like half the economy.
In Germany, we've basically got the lockdown. So only like relevant businesses are allowed to operate, it seems. We already were heading for a recession, even without the coronavirus. The largest car manufacturer in my area, Daimler, they make Mercedes cars. They already had like declining numbers, and now the entire production is stopped. Like nobody is working, nobody's making cars. And once we get back to normal, in quotes, like in non-super hyper virus mode, who is going to buy these cars? Like if they do start producing cars again. So I think there'll be a lot of unemployment.
The government is across the world are now making decisions about what is essential and what is non-essential. And that is a terrifying turn of events right now. And that's why a lot of people got into crypto in the first place.
Can you imagine politicians telling other people what is essential and what is not?
The irony.
They don't understand how interconnected everything is.
Yeah,
absolutely. You might say one job is essential, but they need to buy inputs from somebody. Everything is so interconnected, almost everything would have to be deemed essential. in that sense, because there's no way to tease out which business is producing something that is not going ultimately at the end of the day towards producing something that's essential.
Absolutely. Well, it all comes down to that fatal conceit that Hayek talked about the idea that people can have enough information to make these judgments on things.
It's also creating a massive systemic risk, right? People at the top make bad decisions and it can be disastrous, where if you had more of a decentralized approach, you have the ability to route around bad decisions, and dysfunctional elements, where when you centralize everything, you're relying on them at the top to be perfect.
They actually have an incentive to fuck things up, right? Because this is an opportunity to grant themselves more power down the road. Let the crisis get big and then take drastic measure against the crisis to show how important they are.
We've set up all these precedents for government to make decisions about what businesses can and can't operate, what prices are and are not allowed, what people are and are not allowed to purchase. Do you think that this is going to create like a rich ground for people to be looking towards more decentralized options, whether it be cryptocurrency or looking more into like consumer 3D printing, all of these different things that can kind of give us more control? Do you think that that's what's going to happen, or have we just created a new normal where people are now going to expect the government to just be in control of all this stuff, and it'll be very hard for us to get back to where we were before?
What we're seeing in Germany right now is that basically all online stores for gold sold out.
Do you think that people will start to look towards crypto once they realize that this other stuff is hard to get, etc., and there could be other options for them?
They are already like sort of mainstream economists type of people who are promoting Bitcoin. They're still promoting it as a store of value, which makes me a bit sad.
That's actually very dangerous, because in time of crisis, a lot of people lose a lot of money, which means they need to liquidate assets. This is something that you see in many financial crises. You don't see one asset crashing alone. You see one asset crashing, but then the people that own that asset, they lose a lot of money and they need to sell other assets to cover those losses. And so you see other assets also going down. And the one that don't go down end up being the one that are the most liquid, the king of that being cash, obviously. And then gold, to some extent, people trust that, even if everything collapses and we go back to medieval time, then, gold is still valuable. I'm not sure that crypto can quite have a claim at this stage of development where it can say, like if everything collapses, it still has a value. And so I think the most likely things that we're gonna see is actually people selling crypto to cover losses that they got elsewhere.
I also wanted to talk about this sort of decentralized movement that's come out of this crisis. You have people using their computer hashing power instead to fold proteins, folding for a cure, which is really cool. You're seeing people using their 3D printers to start to build masks. I have a friend in Boston who's been doing a lot of that. You already do see this sort of agorism start to evolve, where people are just going around everything else, because the FDA has screwed up so badly. Now you're starting to see people say, well, I'm just going to take things into my own hands. We'll just go around it and we'll just find solutions. And that's really exciting to me. We got into crypto because we wanted that freedom of choice. We didn't want other people making decisions about where we can and can't spend our money. We didn't want that money to be able to be seized by people. We want to control over all of that. Are people going to start to go to crypto to go around traditional finance, or are we still too early for that yet?
This is the kind of spark that you need to trigger building again, like actually building, because right now we've seen in crypto a lot of trading and speculation and crazy fancy algorithmic whatever stuff that don't really solve people's problem. It's going to be a good opportunity for crypto to get its shit straight, essentially, get back to focus on the core value proposition of the space, which is, in my opinion, digital cash. It's really the big breakthrough that has been done there. There are other interesting stuff in crypto, but they are, in my opinion, they are pale in comparison.
As we start to see potentially like bank runs or just banks being like implementing all this bureaucracy to make it harder and harder for people to access their money, which they're going to do if they're in trouble. That's the first thing. They're not going to ban people. They're just going to make it really bureaucratic and difficult. You may start to see people just get fed up with this system and leave.
Last week, I actually bought a number bundle. It's like a video game stuff. Anyway, so I bought it with credit card because they don't accept crypto, right? And it was like, I think Thursday or Friday. They essentially like waited until Monday to tell me, oh, you're like, your payment didn't go through for whatever bullshit reason. And so I had to do it again on Monday. I wasted 4 days and had to go back to it. This kind of stuff happened on a regular basis. Like it happened to everybody. And so this is something that crypto does much better. And this is the kind of use case that we need to be looking at. Like where do people have problems with existing systems and how can we solve those problems?
Another use case that's very timely at the moment with everything going on, all videos that are to do with COVID have been demonetized on YouTube, teaching people that there are places where you can put your content online and earn money from it, from people all over the world. The dance classes, the Tai Chi, the yoga, the meditation, all of that stuff is moving digital. So this is all the ripe ground that we should be focusing on right now to say, hey, you can get an international audience. This isn't just about getting your local clientele that lived on your street who used to do your yoga class. You can get people who live in Argentina to do your yoga class and let them know that they're reaching an entirely new world now and they have an international money that they could be using for this. Let's talk a little bit about the value of decentralized marketplace at a time like this, when so much of the market has just been shut down and controlled.
These people are risking jail time by selling at above market price, because
is that illegal? Is that technically illegal?
Yeah, it's illegal.
Really? Yeah. What is market price? Doesn't market price evolve according to the demand?
Yeah, it's just raising prices in time of, crisis or something. Even if we didn't have these laws, I still think there would be a big need for something like Open Bazaar, because even if Walmart or Target wanted to raise prices on like toilet paper, they couldn't do it because there'd be a huge public backlash from the hordes of economically illiterate people out there.
Yeah.
So, but what you would at least be able to get is people could, if Walmart doesn't want to raise their prices, you get someone goes into Walmart and he sets up, on Open Bazaar, Joe's price gouging shack, and just puts up everything.
I like that name.
And he's like, hey, if you want to call me a dick, that's fine, I'll take it, But then Walmart saves their reputation, but people still have the ability to buy stuff, and just let someone else who doesn't particularly care about their reputation that much, be the one to make the money on it, and provide the service to people.
It's still so difficult for newcomers to get involved with this. What are the next big areas of friction that you see that we need to be focusing on in the crypto space so that we can incentivize these people to look into crypto?
I think there's a friction getting into and out of crypto. People are used to just clicking pay and it, just deducts the money from their account or bills their credit card or whatever. And with this, you have to go out like searching for cryptocurrency first, get it into a wallet, and then pay from that wallet. The end goal at the end of the day is you don't need to go between US dollars and what have you, but it's going to be a while to get there.
I encourage my friends to always try to find a way to earn crypto. Just accept crypto for whatever they're doing, so that if anyone wants to pay, that may be a better way for them to get it. Sign up to things like Basic Attention Token on Brave Browser or Steemit, Memo.cash, Read.cash, all of these platforms where you could get tipped just for putting out your content, and find a way to just earn it. Because again, if you're dealing with fees going in and out of fiat, it's not worth it for people.
Just take the stuff people are used to, like cards, like something like a bank account, like doing recurrent payments, all of that stuff, and just take it into the crypto world and make it at least feel exactly the same way. Then of course, then is the question, okay, why would people use that? The credit card fees in America are pretty insane. But also in times where like businesses start realizing, okay, hey, this US dollar stuff seems a bit shaky to me. Maybe I want to like diversify a bit. And then if people come and pay with the card, then instead of getting US dollar, you get something else. Then there will be an incentive for merchants to accept it other than having a lower fee because of the financial freedom that adds.
This is how you get great UX. You just iterate. You try various stuff and you iterate. And I don't see a lot of that in the space. Most of them, they are never going to go anywhere. They are not going to stick to it because they have zero support from the community, or very little, and very little incentive to continue. So I think this cultural shift needs to happen. This is a problem with our own value system. And this is what is holding us back.
How do we actually get people to use this? The answer is just make it so that they gain something from just one incremental step. So if they just install the Haven app, for example, they already get a benefit. They can order something that they can't order otherwise. And I think this is the only way we can gain mass adoption. But they don't have this huge barrier to entry. They just have these small steps and they get an immediate reward.
You need to bring value to people. This is how they're going to use it. And being like, oh, read Human Action by Mises. It's only 700 pages, or I don't know, big, this is a huge, this is a huge stuff. People are just not going to do it. You are proposing them a cost. From an economical perspective, the value proposition that you are pushing to those people is do a huge amount of work, and then maybe you're going to see the value of the product. Then the utility that you're bringing to them is negative out of the bat, right? Because they need to put out this huge amount of work to begin with.
AnyPay is already doing is basically paying people to adopt businesses. And I think this can bring on the professionals, like the people who actually know how to do sales, who know how to convince people that something that is beneficial for them is beneficial. That's also something that I've been working on with Bcash to ensure that this is possible.
At the same time, we kind of need to improve our platforms, and that also does circle back to funding. Part of it is a struggle to balance the desire to improve the user experience in this sort of stuff with the limited resources that we actually have.
We should stop trying to think about how do we bring people on the platform, actually, but think about what problem can we solve for people using the platform, because this is how we get them on board.
I think this is ripe ground for getting people interested in crypto, not just because of the anger that people are feeling about this economic collapse at the moment, but also because people are in dire need of ways to support themselves. And crypto really does tick a lot of boxes there, especially as the government clamps down and limits access to people's own funds, limits where they can spend their money, limits how much of their money they could spend. I'm very thankful for it right now. So thank you, Satoshi. Thank you, all the people, you wonderful devs who have been creating this ecosystem, and just it's this bounty that people like myself get to benefit from. So thank you to all of you for your work. A huge shout out to all the members of NBTV for your support of this channel. If you'd like access to the extended version of this interview by becoming a member of NBTV, head over to naomibrockwell.com/memberships. And if you found this video useful or interesting, then don't forget to like, share, and subscribe. Thank you so much for watching.